Hello, William McKnight here at the Pacific Northwest Business Intelligence Summit for 2012. I'm here with Fred Funke, the Director of Sales with McKnight2. Hello, Fred.
Hello, how's it going?
Going well. How are you enjoying the summit?
Can't beat it. This is a great experience. The surroundings, as you can kind of see, not so bad.
Any highlights for you of the experience so far?
It's interesting. So our background's not largely in the BI space, but we are getting strong inroads there. But I think probably the highlights have been really the networking side of it.
Okay.
Getting the individual conversations that really are allowing us to dive in a lot further and get a better feel for what the space is all about.
Yeah, it's definitely good for that. So tell us about McKnight2.
Yeah, so McKnight2, we've been around for about 4.5 years, and I generally start with talking about the name. So most people mispronounce it. It is pronounced McKnight2, and it's kind of a play on, well, the whole premise of the company, where traditionally accessing social data, and we are a social data aggregator, social media data aggregator. But back in the day, 4 years ago, we really saw the need to make access to this data easier. So how people were traditionally doing it was more of a ping server technology. There were polling-based APIs going out saying something's new. If it was, they'd bring it back. And we saw this as kind of an archaic methodology and wanted to reverse that process. So as ping was ping server, we reversed that. The name is ping spelled backwards, McKnight2, right?
I see.
So we started initially working with a lot of the publicly available APIs to normalize this data, bring it through a single API and make it a commercially available, viable solution for folks to use and start adding their analysis on. Also at the same time, we were really starting to target some of the more, let's say, interesting or growing publishers like Twitter. And where things got very interesting was about 1.5 years ago when we did go into a direct partnership with Twitter to make us the first re-syndicator of their full firehose data. And by that, we're not actually selling the full firehose, but we offer the ability to filter off that firehose.
And a lot of people don't know that public API for Twitter data, with that, you only get 1% of their data.
It's a very rate-limited access point, right? So it's not, if you're trying to build a business solution off of that, it's not a great mechanism to do that. What we often see are people use that as a proving ground or proving mechanism, and they very quickly get to the point where it's not a usable solution for them, and then they'll go to McKnight2 or to Twitter, and Twitter will say, "That's great. You should talk to our partners at McKnight2 for that further access."
So you'll get the full fire hose.
That's right.
But you'll filter it for your companies, your customers, depending upon what they need.
So we actually allow them the ability, or we provide them with the ability to filter, right? So we have a very complex filtering language or ability to filter off this Boolean-based with operators that allows them to really drill down to only the information they want. Quite often, almost every day, we have folks saying, "Yeah, I want the full fire hose," but in reality, very few of them do, and it's a 2-second conversation. Like, no, we've got something better, right?
Yeah. How big is that fire hose, by the way?
So last count, and this is several weeks old, it's about 400 million tweets a day. What we see is it tends to be growing about 10% month over month. And even 2 years ago, we'd have the conversation, okay, so it's going to slow down eventually, right? And we still have not seen this. It's a growing entity.
So there's a lot of noise in there, but
there is.
For what isn't noise, I mean, how does Twitter data help a company? I mean, there's some skepticism about the validity of the data. So what do you say to that?
So the validity of the data, there's some culling mechanism, I'd say, or some quieting down mechanisms within the whole Twitter sphere to begin with, right? So an example I use is if someone says, "Hey, there's a fire at the corner of 10th and Elm," that may be true, but what ultimately happens if it's not true, the mechanism of Twitter will allow others to come and say, "No, there's no fire, it's not valid," and it kind of it self-rectifies or brings out the truth, right?
And it's real time. As opposed to some other news sources. It's about as real time as it gets, isn't it?
It is. So we offer a few options there. You can either bring it through a Twitter original format where you're actually getting sub-second delivery, or we also add a normalized JSON activity stream, which also adds an enrichment layer. So with that, and in that mechanism, it's bringing it across in less than 10 seconds, but you get things like clout scores, language detection, geo-filtering, URL unwinding, and URL unwinding is in the sense where if it's a bit.ly or shortened URL, and you're trying to find a brand or a name or a mention, generally it's very difficult. What we allow you to do is find it, unwind it, and see the original content as well.
Get the full URL there.
Right.
So this is so real time. How do you advise organizations to be ready to take on such real-time data and do something with it?
Well, it's tricky. I mean, one of the mechanisms we talked about already, which helps with that, if you were trying to do that real-time with 400 million tweets, that's a problem to begin with, right? So we, right off the gate, we help you bring it down to a more manageable subset.
Sure.
With that, though, it's kind of interesting, I guess, dilemma for us in the sense that we set up a very easy mechanism to connect with us, a HTTP endpoint. That connection, generally, folks are up and running within a day or two. How they're dealing with that data, largely, we don't know, right? Particularly if you're talking about a quant hedge fund, they'll take that data in, and they're very secretive, and it's a little frustrating in that sense. But normally, it's probably the normal mechanisms most folks would expect. So a lot of it's cloud-based technology. They're going to use an EC2 storage cloud or something along those lines.
Okay. So I want to be sure that everybody understands your full range of function at GNIP. So we've heard that you provide the Twitter data. What about some other data? And is there anything more you want to say about the enrichment of the data?
That's a great question. And so what oftentimes happens is clients will come into this process, will come into us and say, hey, I want Twitter data, not realizing that we offer a broader expanse to social media sphere, right? So we also offer some other really interesting exclusive sources like Discuss, which is the largest third-party commenting platform. Tumblr is another exclusive feed offering that we offer to our clients, and WordPress as well. So those are the ones that we just added into the mix within the last couple months. And part of our go-forward mechanism is not only to provide a low-latency, fully redundant enterprise-level connection to Twitter, but it's also to add in these other sources as well, right? And that same reliable enterprise delivery mechanism. Once again, with the elements of real-time, we are very close to talking about our historical aspects, where in short order, probably the next 2 to 3 weeks, we'll have a lot more to say about providing further access to historical Twitter corpus, going back to Tweet 1. But I'll leave that at that point for now.
Okay, we'll circle back on that one.
Yeah.
But this is so new to organizations trying to absorb Twitter data and do the right thing with it. Can you give us some more use cases?
Yeah, so this is, I've been with GNIP for about 2 years, and every day we're hearing about new and interesting use cases. Traditionally, it goes back to the social media monitoring platform or providers, and we serve 9 out of 10 top providers in that space, and indirectly through these social media monitoring platforms or solutions, we're serving over 90% of the Fortune 500 through these clients. And what they're doing is they take the data and they provide analytics on that data, largely in a marketing instance, to provide further insights to brand management or market reaction or product launch, right? And getting that feedback loop to better react to that.
Okay.
Beyond that, though, we kind of talked a little bit about the whole financial sector. We do serve a interesting segment of the quant hedge funds where they're taking our data in less than 10 sub-second latency and reacting on that as one of their data streams, right?
Interesting.
We deal with ad technology, or ad tech as we call it. So those companies that are digital marketing really trying to get a better indication of how to take social media and how predict where they should better spend their dollar. Some other interesting ones outside of the commercial aspects are more on the government or public safety sector where, for example, you might want to do a natural disaster recovery or response, social response mechanism. So what we'll allow clients to do is to take the social media data and plot that out on a map and actually see, where are these instances happening, how can I better react to them. So in the case of a fire, you may be able to monitor the social platform and find out that, hey, it's at this point we need to get fire rescue crews there immediately, and we allow a very low latency manner of doing that.
Well, with that, Twitter's just going to open up a lot of possibilities. I mean, it's going to expand in terms of how we use it.
That's right. So one of the, I'd say probably a growing trend right now with Twitter and social media in general is the whole geospatial aspects of the data, right?
Yes.
And it's hard to get at, and there's a lot of misconception on that as well. So right now with Twitter, roughly 5 to 6% of all tweets have a lat long associated with them, or XY, which is great, but people want more. So we're in the point now we're starting to work with partners to get more of a geo inference on where the data is actually coming from. And that's people are asking for that on a ever-growing demand every day.
Sure. I remember this morning Donald Farmer shared the example of a company that was actually sending their system logs to Twitter as a mechanism for just getting the information out. Not everybody wants it, but the people that do, that was the mechanism for sharing that information.
Yeah, no, great example.
So we're going to have a lot of information management professionals watching this like myself. Where is this data going into these organizations in? What kind of vessels?
So I'm not sure I exactly understand the question, but generally speaking, once again, I'll go weed this back in the use case scenario where traditionally we work with social media monitoring platforms. They take that and provide their analytics. But now, particularly for this space in the business intelligence space, we're starting to work a lot more with partners to fuel the end client, right? So what we're really seeing is a lot of the Fortune 500 and brands are now getting to the point where they want further access than just a analytical platform listening for what's being said. They actually want to delve in deeper. They're bringing in their own data scientists. So they want to fuel it into a CCI solution and get further insights, melding that, not only the social media data aspects, but meld that in with their internal data and other external sources too to get a better insight. I think that's a real growing trend that we're seeing. It's all starting to meld together, and I think up to date it's been very difficult, and social media in general has been very siloed.
Sure. Well, real-time social media would definitely be an asset to the growing data scientist movement. Well, thank you, Fred, and thank you all for watching.
Thanks, William.